I can confidently say that after visiting China for the first time, my view to what constitutes as good infrastructure has radically changed. As someone who grew up in the US and has now lived in Germany for many years, China's public infrastructure, its public transport network, its parks, the e-mobility, the walkability, it all made me realize that it's not just blowing the US out of the water. I mean, I think we already knew that this was true, but that it's far superior to the public infrastructure in most of Germany and Western Europe. And the pockets in Europe where it might currently be better, like in Switzerland, well, that's gonna change real quick because guess what? China can actually plan and complete large public works projects, unlike in the West where nothing of note, such as a new metro network, has been built in decades. Germany's gonna take 30 years to renovate the Stuttgart main station, called Stuttgart 21, where construction began in 2010 and was supposed to be finished in, you guessed it, in 2021, but now they're claiming it's gonna be done in 2031. And don't even get me started on the US, where we can't even build an LA San Francisco high-speed rail line. Construction started in 2015 and it's not going to be finished before the 2030s. And before everyone in the comment section says, Marcus, you just went to the central business district of a top-tier city in China, meaning Beijing, Shanghai, Guangzhou, and Shenzhen. Well, I hate to break it to you, but I didn't. I did go to Beijing, but I also took the high-speed train to Xi'an, a second-tier city of more than 10 million, where the Terracotta Warriors are, and to Luoyang, a third-tier city of almost 3 million. And this is what an average park looks like in Luoyang. It's simply insane to think how far China has come in just a couple decades. But a quick disclaimer to all the keyboard warriors that are getting ready to write this comment, I obviously don't support one-party systems of government, and this video should not be interpreted as my endorsement of them. But at the same time, China's system shouldn't be used as an excuse to brush off its success or be used to bail out the neoliberal Western governments that are so rotten to the core that they haven't built anything of note in decades. So let's go over 3 categories of public life in China: public transport, e-mobility, and walkability, and let's talk about why they're all superior to what I've experienced in the US and Europe. But before we get into it, make sure to like and subscribe to the channel. From someone that grew up in the US but spent a lot of time as a child in Germany, I always idealized Germany's public transport, especially Berlin's. And don't get me wrong, Berlin's S-Bahn, the light rail network, the U-Bahn, the metro system, and the extensive bus and tram network, well, they're really good. But just like every other Western nation, all improvements seem to just stop over the past decades. Any growth, building the metro system out to areas not covered, keeping the system in good condition to avoid constant delays, all while ensuring the cleanliness of the stations and the trains themselves, well, the local and federal German government, they just seem to stop doing all of these things. Take the connection of the U-Bahn to the S-Bahn in this part of southwest Berlin, an extension which would vastly improve the connectivity of the network. All they need to do is extend the tunnel by 750 meters, and while construction started in April 2025 after decades of bureaucratic delays, I mean, just guess when it will be completed: at the end of 2030. And many areas of Berlin desperately need connections to this metro system, but the government only ever talks about it. All while the existing system is in dire need of repairs, meaning delays are becoming more and more frequent. And I don't even want to mention the nastiness of some of the stations. It's just sad. So after taking the metro in Beijing, which has seen a ridiculous amount of new lines since the turn of the century, to the metro in Xi'an, which has seen 8, that's right guys, 8 extensions since the beginning of the decade, to the metro in Luoyang, which didn't even exist before 2021, I can honestly and depressingly say that I no longer view Germany's public transport network in this idealized way. Because while Berlin's network might have been good in the 90s and 2000s when I was a kid, any growing city, which Berlin is, should be constantly building out its public transport network. And it simply isn't. And no Berlin metro or light rail station has a public bathroom, while every single station in China that I was in had a clean public bathroom. And the stations themselves are just incredibly clean and safe places to be. I mean, to be honest, there's simply no comparison, zero comparison. And the exact same thing can be said about China's long-distance rail service. Just as I used to glorify Berlin's public transport network, I for sure idealize Germany's rail network as an American. But do I even really need to say anything about the Deutsche Bahn? The amount of delays is simply absurd, and building the system out to improve the network and decrease delays, well, just look at Stuttgart 2021. They can't even build a few tunnels. It's taken them almost 30 years. The West is truly in an abysmal state of construction. There's simply no major public works projects being completed. Meanwhile, China just completed this absolutely massive train station in Chongqing. But China isn't just dominating in public transport, they're dominating in another very important sector of transportation. Before traveling to China, I'd heard a lot about the country's push for e-mobility, both in terms of electric cars and smaller vehicles, such as e-bikes and e-tricycles. But I honestly, and I swear to God guys, I had no idea that they'd made this much progress. The majority of cars I saw had this green license plate, meaning they're electric vehicles. And the scooters, about 99% of them were electric, and in addition to this improving the air quality and acting as a major part of the push to lower CO2 emissions, it simply makes public spaces in a city 1,000 times better due to the noise. Just look at this video I took at this huge intersection in Xi'an. I mean, do you realize how quiet that intersection is? Now imagine if all of those cars and scooters were combustion engines. I mean, it'd be insanely loud. These Chinese e-cars are also really cheap because guess what? China actually has a capitalist marketplace with over 60 Chinese e-car brands, meaning that the market is actually super competitive, which means that prices are low and that the products on offer are really diverse. Compare that to Germany, where the big three auto companies are constantly acting as a cartel to control prices and screw consumers. Now, I don't want to act as if it's all perfect because these e-scooter drivers, they basically ignore every single traffic law and ride their scooters really fast on sidewalks or pedestrian streets, resulting in some pretty dangerous situations. But at the same time, riding a bike in Beijing, Xi'an, and Luoyang was simply a pleasure. It felt really safe because there are so many other bikes and e-scooters around that the cars simply can't drive that fast. I can say honest to God, I've never felt this safe riding a bike in Germany. And don't even get me started on the suicide mission that riding a bike can be in the United States. And while the e-cars are cheap, the sharing bikes are insanely cheap. 1 hour cost me less than €1. But speaking of getting places without a car, let's talk about walkability. China is simply absurdly walkable. In Luoyang, for example, I stayed in a quiet little suburb far away from the city center. And right in the middle of this little suburb, there was this street with hundreds of restaurants, coffee and tea stores, plus food stands. It was the definition of the 15-minute city, and I think it looks really cool when it was raining and I took this video. And I need to talk about the parks in Luoyang because they give people somewhere nice to walk to and to talk to others and do this thing called building a community. I know that we don't even know what that means in America anymore. One evening, I was riding an e-scooter randomly in Luoyang and came across these two parks. The first was this one with a nice large lake, and I kind of like the moving lights on the high-rise. It gives it this interesting futuristic look. But this next park I liked even more because it had a square pond and in the middle were a bunch of really beautiful lotus plants, plus the lit up high-rise and the trees on the edge. And in both parks there were families hanging out with their kids, old people hanging out, playing mahjong and fishing, and it was a really clean place and overall just a genuinely nice place to hang out. And something that also shocked me about China is that there are trees everywhere, even in the big cities like Xi'an and Beijing. And not just little ones, but nice, strong, big, healthy trees that are clearly cared for by the local government. I mean, this doesn't just look nice, it also made it nice and cool on a hot day, and it improves the air quality. And it was a further confirmation that people in the US, unfortunately, don't really just go to their local park and chill. Where I grew up in Ypsilanti, Michigan, there's this really nice park just a 10-minute walk away, and I swear to God, I've never seen like a white old person or some white people just hanging out on a park bench and chilling. In China, people love to be in their public spaces, in their parks, Just look at this, guys. Who wouldn't want to sit here for a bit? And this does make life for senior citizens better, where in the US, for some reason, we like to make our senior citizens be extremely isolated in their homes and not do anything or go outside or see other people. I don't know, man. It's just really, really sad. So what else can I really say about my trip to China? Well, it simply changed my life. It made me realize that public spaces can be truly amazing, truly beautiful, and truly safe places where the entire community goes and hangs out. We've been robbed of this in the US, and we could have the same type of amazing public spaces and public infrastructure. And they could probably be even better with the amount of money that the US has. Just look at the benefits of a government that builds out actual nice public transport networks or supports the push for e-mobility. It makes you realize how screwed we're getting in the United States, that our taxes are going to the military, to Iran, to corporate handouts, rather than stuff like this, which would actually improve our lives. But I would really like to know what you guys think. Have you been to China? If you have, let me know what you think in the comment section below. Make sure to like and subscribe, and I will see you all in the next video. Peace.